Alright, welcome to the solutions for the Inequalities worksheet. In the background we have some awesome Genesis playing, so if you're wondering what the killer music is in the background, it's Genesis. Anyway, so doing this, the first entire section is just graphing inequalities. And so you have an inequality here, and you need to graph it on your number line that's given. Always start out by just putting a circle above the number that's given there. So 5, I'm going to put a circle there. And this says that x is less than 5. So the numbers we're looking for are the ones that are less than 5. Those are the ones shaded to the left. So I'm going to shade left, put an arrow on the end, and that one's done. And then on number 3, we have n greater than 0. So put a circle at 0. And this is saying n being the numbers greater than 0. Those are the ones shaded to the right. So I'm going to shade right. Put a little arrow on the end to show my shading keeps going that direction. And moving over to 2 and 4. Here on 2 says x less than 4, so I'm going to put a circle at 4. And I want the numbers less than 4, those are the ones on the left side. All these ones are less than 4. So I'm going to shade that direction and put an arrow on the end. And on 4 I have r greater than 5, so I'm going to put a circle at 5. And that says the number's greater than 5, so I need to shade to the right and put an arrow on the end. And back to number 5, we have 6 less than p. So I need to go to 6. And this says that 6 is less than p, as in less than what numbers? The numbers to the right. If you really want to flip it around, you can say p greater than 6. Those are equivalent statements. And on 7, we have a similar situation. 4 greater than or equal to x, so go to 4, put a circle there, and this one, if you rewrite it, would be x less than or equal to 4, or you can read it as 4 is greater than or equal to x. So 4 is bigger than what numbers? Well, that's the ones over here, on the left side. Alright, -1, -2, 1, all those ones. So that's the side we're going to shade. And this guy here says or equal to, it has that little line underneath our inequality. And so we're going to fill in our circle at 4. And moving on to 6, we have -3 greater than or equal to v. So I'm going to go to -3, put my circle. And -3 is bigger than all the v numbers. Well, that would mean that all the v ones are to the left of -3. And so that's that. And we need to fill it in because it says less than on our inequalities. So I'm going to fill that in. Because it says equal to or equal to on our inequalities. So I'm going to fill that in. And then on 8, we have 1 less than x. So I'm going to put a circle at 1. And 1 is less than x, meaning that x has to be all the numbers bigger. So that would be over here on the right side. And there's our first 8. Once you get those done, the rest of these you need to solve the inequality and then you're going to graph it. So here we have this inequality, 4m less than or equal to 32. Well, if you want to solve that, you just need to divide both sides by 4. And you'll get m less than or equal to 8. And now we have our solution. You're going to go to 8, circle up, and m is less than or equal to, which means it's the numbers to the left. So I'm going to put that in, and we're going to fill in our circle because it says or equal to on our inequality. Moving on to 10, we have -4k less than or equal to 8. So I'm going to divide both sides by -4. And we're going to have k greater than or equal to -2. So notice we divided by a negative, -4. So that's why I need to change the direction on my inequalities. Was less than, now it's greater than. So here's my answer. K is greater than or equal to -2, so go to -2, put your circle there, and K needs to be greater than, so all the numbers that are greater than are this direction. So now we got that, and we need to fill in because it says or equal to, so K can be 2, we're going to fill in -2. Moving on to 11, we have -30 less than or equal to -6m. You just need to divide both sides by what's in front of your variable. A pretty simple one-step equation here. Right side we got m, left side we got 5, because -30 divided by -6 is going to be +5. But we divided by a negative here, that 6 is negative, so we need to change the direction of our inequality to now say greater than or equal to. So 5 is greater than or equal to m, so go to 5. And we're going to put that there. And 5 is greater than m, as in all the answers. So we're going to shade to the left, because all these numbers are less than 5, and 5 has to be bigger than all the answers. So is that, and we're going to fill it in because it says or equal to, as in m can be 5, we're going to fill that in. Moving on to 12, we got negative 9 less than 9x. You just divide both sides by 9. And on the left side you have negative 1. And on the right side you just got x. We are not going to change the direction of that because this is positive. That 9 on bottom, the bottom number, what we're dividing by is just positive, so we're going to keep it the same. So now we got negative 1 less than x. So go to negative 1, put your circle there. And negative 1 is less than x, as in x is going to have to be all the numbers that are bigger in order for negative 1 to be less than all of them. So we're going to shade to the right. And we're not going to fill it in because it just says less than, but not equal to. Moving on to 13. We need to get rid of that number in front of the n, so we're going to divide both sides by negative 3. And whenever you divide by a negative, you must change the direction of your inequality. So be very careful that you've done that. N is less than or equal to 0, so go to 0, put your circle there. And n needs to be less than, as in all the numbers need to be less than, so I'm going to shade left, which is that direction. And since it says or equal to, that has that little line there, we're going to fill in our bubble at 0. Moving on to 14, you just need to get rid of the number in front of the v, and you do that by dividing both sides by 8 to get v less than negative 3. We are not changing the inequality direction because we divided by a positive 8. Even though the negative is on the right side, we divided by the positive number in front of v. So we got v less than negative 3. To graph that, put a circle at negative 3, and v is less than negative 3, so we need the numbers that are less to be shaded. That's to the left. Moving on to 15, we have 5x greater than negative, 5x greater than negative 20, so we need to divide both sides by 5. And we're going to get x greater than negative 4. It's going to be greater than, because we divided by a positive, we're not going to change direction. So now we're going to graph it. X is greater than negative 4. Put a circle at negative 4. And x needs to be the ones greater. Those numbers are to the right. X needs to be greater than negative 4. So those are the numbers to the right. Shade right. Put a little arrow on the end there. And we're not going to fill it in because it says greater than, but not equal to. 16. You're just going to get x all by itself, just like you would in a normal old solving equation, by dividing by that number in front of x. So x is all by itself. On the right side, left side, we're going to have positive 7. That's what negative 28 divided by negative 4 is. And I need to change the direction of my inequality because I divided by a negative 4. So look on the bottom of whatever you're dividing by. If that's negative, you need to change direction. So I have, and now I have my inequality of 7 is less than or equal to x. So I'm going to put a circle at 7. And I need to now shade where the x's are. Well, 7 has to be less than all the answers, less than all the x's. So x is going to have to be these numbers to the right. That 7's the lower bound, the lower end. Okay, and since this says less than or equal to, we're going to include 7. So fill in the circle there for 7. Moving on to 17, I'd solve this just like it was a normal equation. I'd probably want to subtract 7 from both sides to get p is greater than or equal to p minus 3. And I want to get my variables on one side, so I'm going to subtract p from both sides. And now I'm at this little interesting looking situation where I have 0 greater than or equal to 3. Well, since 0 is greater than or equal to 3, well, that's a true statement. This is true. And so, it actually doesn't matter what number you put in for p. Our original inequality will be true, because at the end here, p had no bearing on our final answer. It doesn't matter what you put in, you'll get 0 greater than or equal to negative 3, or an equivalent to that. And so, since that's the case, any number works You can really just like shade the whole thing. But this would be, the answer would be all real numbers. And we move on to 18. You see we're going to have a very similar situation here. I'm going to subtract v from both sides. Just start out, we'll move the variable first. And we'll have -1 greater than or equal to -3. And that's actually our final answer here. Is -1 greater than or equal to -3? That is true. And so v, again, our variable has no bearing on our final answer. The left side will be greater than the right side, no matter what number you pick for v. And so I'm going to graph the whole thing, because all these numbers work. You can put in 5, you can put in -7, any number will work. And so our answer includes all real numbers. So all real numbers be part of our solution there. For 9, I'm going to start with subtracting 7b from both sides to get our variable on one side. When you do that, you're going to get 3 less than or equal to 0. Just because the b's subtract out. And so now we got this. Is this a true statement? Is 3 less than or equal to 0? That's a no. And so there is no answer that you can put in for b, no number you can put in for b, and have this inequality come out true. So there are no solutions, because no number works. You can try out. Pick any number you want, put it in there, it won't work. You will not have the left side less than or equal to the right. And if you move over to 20, and again, we're just going to move the variable first, so subtract p from both sides. We'll get 2 less than or equal to -1, because p minus p is just 0. Is 2 less than or equal to -1? No. And since it's not, it won't matter what number you put in for p, for the p's there, the left side will never be less than or equal to the right side. And so again, we have no solution for 20. And that's the entire assignment.